Okay. All right, so as I explained in the last lecture, right, we've basically finished all the material. Right, the aim of this one is I just want to talk about basically the final exam. Before I get to that, though, your second class test is on schedule to be marked and returned to me by tomorrow as planned. Right, so remember when I send the message out to say it's been marked and I upload it, that's when I physically have the papers, right? So I think 3/4 of them, I've got 4 markers. I think 3/4 have been marked and entered into CS marks, but there's still the last quarter, which will be finished hopefully today, because the plan is to get them back tomorrow. Right, but remember, they're not all finished yet, so if you log in your marks not there, don't freak out just yet, right? They haven't all been completed just yet. A lot of them have, but not all of them, all right? And then you can come and grab it during my consultation time. Now, I've uploaded some information about your final exam, excuse me, and this document and the exam from last semester. So the main thing is I just want to go through this. So the final exam will cover the entire unit. It's a bit loud, isn't it? All right, and as always, you'll get the formula sheet. Unlike the class, unless they stuff up again, unlike the class test, the formula sheet will be a separate document, right, in the final exam. They will get you to write your name and student number on the cover sheet, but as with the class tests, don't write anything you want marked on the formula sheet. I don't get the formula sheets back, they're thrown out. All right? But it will be a separate thing because you're not allowed to rip anything off the exam. Unless they stuff up. One semester they did accidentally attach it to the exam, and the rule is you're not allowed to detach anything from the exam. I yelled at certain people about that, and hopefully it will not happen again, right? Because, you know, flicking through the thing is a pain. It doesn't matter. Should be fine, right? And of course it's the same formula sheet we've had all the way through. It would be quite cruel of me to suddenly change the damn thing. The only difference will be is it will have a cover page on it, right? So it's 1 page longer. That's it. That's the only difference. Everything else is the same, okay? Of course, as always, no other notes are permitted. Just like all of your exams, this one will be 2 hours long. Every single exam at UWA nowadays is 2 hours long. It's going to have 17 questions for a total of 70 marks. The first 10 questions are multiple choice, right? And what you do is, it's A, B, C, D, E, and you write your answers on one of these. You must write your answers on this. Answers that are recorded in the exam will not be marked. Obviously, this is marked by a machine, right? So that's the whole point, is to save my marking time, right? So you'll get one of these. Just make sure you fill it out. You know, everyone's done one of these, haven't they? Colour in the dot sort of rubbish. Make sure you do bring a pencil. If you do, you can do this in pen, of course, but if you make a mistake, you have to fill out a whole new one, right? Yeah, because you're putting a cross through a coloured in circle and the machine just thinks 2 answers wrong. Okay, so bring a pencil for this one. If you do forget a pencil, you can do it in pen, no matter what the invigilators say, but just don't stuff it up. Otherwise, ask for a fresh one. Okay? All right, so and then the remaining set, so each of the multiple choice questions is 10 multiple choice questions, each worth 2 marks, so that's a total of 20 marks, and then there's 7 written ones worth a total of 50 marks. So the 7 written ones are just like the class test. You write your answers in the spaces provided, that sort of thing, okay? As I said there, the 10 multiple choice must be given on the answer sheet, pencil, use a pencil. Answers recorded anywhere, including the exam, will not be marked, right? Your answers must be recorded on the multiple choice answer sheet. Right, and then the non-multiple choice ones are written spaces provided, just like class tests 1 and 2. Right, there'll be blank pages at the end for extra working, just like the class tests. Right, don't use whiteout or anything like that, because if your exams, it works like glue. Right, and if your exam's at the bottom of the pile, right, and they're glued together and it rips and, you know, that sort of rubbish. So don't use whiteout, just single line and put it on the back. If you need extra room, ask for another exam paper and they will be attached. They'll be joined to your other one, and when it gets back to me, as long as you put your name and student number on it. Okay, now of course you are allowed to have a calculator, right, but it must have an approval sticker. Now everyone's been fantastic in the class test. I haven't seen a single non-stickered calculator, but the final, if final exams are all official, they're much more harsher on it. All right, so if you haven't had a sticker and I've missed it through class test 1 and 2, it won't be missed in the final exam, right? So you must have a sticker. You can bring a spare calculator, of course. You could bring 48 spare calculators for all I care, as long as every single one of them has a sticker on it, okay? Right, any calculator without one, even if I'm there and I can see that it's scientific, you are not allowed to use it. Right? I'm not in your final exams, I'm not in charge. Right? The invigilators are. And sometimes they're a bit, what's the word? The nice way of saying pedantic. All right, so anyway. Now, one thing is make sure your calculator has got a fresh battery installed. Think of it this way, right? Potentially, if you're doing maths and physics and maybe a theoretical engineering, whatever the hell you're doing, you might be using this calculator a lot, right, over the next couple of weeks. When I was at your stage, what I used to do is at the end of the study break, so next Friday, right, I would replace my calculator. Even if it was working, I would replace it, right? So it's one AA battery. It's not difficult. You need a little screwdriver and off you go, all right? And of course, when you do change the battery, don't raid the TV remote from your 13-year-old television. or something like that, go out and buy a decent brand battery, right? The main thing is if your calculator dies, we don't have spares. I don't even own a calculator anymore, right? I use my computer or my phone as a calculator. I don't do tests, of course, all right? But there are no spares, right? As I said, if I need a calculator to show the class something, I steal it from Lost and Found, right? I don't even own one anymore, all right? So if you just make sure it's working, make sure it's got a fresh battery, make sure it's got a sticker on it. And as I said, if you bring spares, they've all got to have stickers on it, right? Now, I've said this during the class tests, no matter what, you can't use your phone. In the final exams, you can't even have your phone on you. Otherwise, you'll be brought up with disciplinary rubbish, right? So the phone's not an option for the final exam, okay? Now, details about the date and time of your final exam are provided to you via Student Connect. Everyone knows what Student Connect is, I assume. Is that what it's still called? Yeah? Right? I'm not allowed to provide that information. Now, there is a very good reason for this. For some reason which I have never figured out, the exam timetable you see is not the exam timetable I see. Don't ask me why, it's just the way it is, right? So yours is 100% completely accurate and up to date. Mine isn't, right? And I have had a thing in the past where I had a class, so I've rocked up to the room and it's frickin' empty, right? I'm going, where the hell is my class? Because my timetable was wrong, right? Because it's not updated. I don't know why, right? But I can't tell you that. When do you think your exam is? Pardon? Right, that's what mine says, right? Yes? Wednesday the 5th, yeah, okay. But when and where, student, don't ask me, I'm not allowed to tell you in case mine's wrong and I tell you the wrong thing, right? Which does happen, let's say. Now, I will be in attendance at the beginning, but usually with a class, what happens with a class this size is you are split up and you're all over the place, right? So, the worst one I had was I taught this, no, it wasn't this year, it was some other big unit, and half of my class is in business, the other half's in Undercroft. I kid you not, right? Obviously I can't, I can't run that, well, you can't run it all, I will endeavour, I will go to the one with the biggest numbers, right? I will endeavour to attend every room, but if there is a problem with anything, if there's a typo in the exam, if the formula sheet's missing, no multiple choice, whatever, right, the invigilators have my mobile phone number and can call me if there's any trouble, right? So if there's any problems, you ask the invigilators, they can give me a call and I can deal with it or come and deal with it, right? But I will be around, but I will go to the room with the biggest numbers. So according to my thing, the vast majority of you, for a change, the vast majority of you are in the one place, which is nice. Okay, I'm not going to tell you where. Look at Student Connect, just in case I'm wrong. All right, but anyway. As always, if you can't attend the exam, you must apply for special consideration through your allocated course advice office, not through me. I have, with the class tests, I have control over how if you get special consideration for one of the class tests, I decide how to apply it, right? But in the final exams, I have nothing to do, I do not decide, right? It's decided by the university itself, right? So don't ask me. If you've miss it, you have to deal with your allocated course advice office. I have no say whatsoever in that process for the final exam. Okay, if it is granted, the student office will tell you what's going on, not me. I have nothing to do with the process of special considerations for final exam. No special consideration, you get 0 for the final exam, right? Again, I can't do anything about it, right? You have to go through your course advice office. Now, for your study, you've got all of the in-class examples, you've got all the practical solutions except for the last one, which of course I'll upload tomorrow. All the class tests and sample class tests and the unit reader. Obviously, you've got one more so-and-so assessment that's due this Sunday. After that, I would prefer you to use the written material rather than so-and-so to study. So after Sunday, so-and-so's done, right? And I'm not going to use that for practice because I find it tedious. I think you probably agree. Right? I'm not a huge fan of these online things, so I'm not going to use it. Yes?
So should we not go through the tests on so-and-so.
No, once you've done, they disappear, don't they?
No. You can go to your profile and then the tests.
Is that true? Can you all redo tests you've already done?
You can't redo them, but you can look at the ones you got wrong.
Oh, okay. Oh, excellent. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't think I set it up like. Awesome. You can do that. Yeah, I didn't. Thank you. I didn't even know that. Right, but now I've uploaded the final exam from the previous semester with work solutions, which we'll go through in a sec. Solutions from earlier exams will not be provided. I only provide solutions from the previous semester. Couple of things to remember. This unit has changed. A couple of years ago, the 101, Math 1011 and Math 1012 were called Math 1001 and Math 1002. Mathematical Methods 1, Mathematical Methods 2. They were very different units back then, right? Everything was in a different order. So basically this unit was half of the old 1001 and half of the old 1002. We mixed it all up and moved things around. Then, of course, we switched from 13-week semesters to 12-week semesters last year, which meant some topics were culled, okay? So if the main thing for this unit, if you're looking at earlier exams, anything that mentions the word vector field, circulation, or flux is not covered. If you don't recognise the question, we didn't cover it, right? And in differential equations, non-homogeneous second order, method of undetermined coefficients and variation parameters were not covered in this. They've been taken out, right? So, you know, of course I'm not going to ask something we haven't even talked about, okay? But vector fields used to be a big part of this unit, and it's not now, it's gone. So just if you get that book from the Math Union or something, there are lots of questions in there that aren't relevant anymore. Right, so anything with the word vector field, just ignore it because we haven't covered it. Right. Now, obviously, I finished teaching this week, so my consultation will change. Basically, I'm going to have consultation every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 till 12. Right, so at those times, I should be in my office. If they're not, there will be a note on the door telling you what's going on, where I am, if I'm back in 10 minutes or whatever the hell. Right, but between 9 and 12, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you just rock up if you want some one-on-one help, and of course to collect your second test, okay? If those times don't suit you, then email or phone ahead and make an appointment, okay? But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 till 12, unless I'm, sick or something, an emergency's come up, I should be in my office ready to give you a hand, okay? Now also remember that you do not necessarily have to this exam has no fail components. In other words, you don't necessarily have to pass the final exam to pass the unit, right? So, for example, if you've gotten 100% in all your so-and-so, you've attended a practical class, and let's say you got 100% in all your tests 1 and 2, you are sitting on 45 out of 100 already, right? So you could come and do one question and pass. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could, right? You don't have to pass the exam. All I care about is that your overall is above 50. Now, I'm sure you've all heard that scaling has been abolished, yes? Right? That's not 100% true, okay? We still have, bounds on where things are meant to sit, but it doesn't actually usually it doesn't affect me. I have, believe it or not, never had to scale up. Right? I did have to scale down once or twice where I made the unit too easy, or everyone did too well, one or the other. But I very rarely have to scale anyway, okay? But it should be fine, right? But the policy is now there is no scaling. So, but I can tell you that they are still telling us that the average of the whole class that sits the final exam should be reasonably between 60 and 70. If not, we will be forced to scale. So, it's all bollocks, really. All right? It's it'll be fine. Okay. Now, I am not allowed to talk about your final grade until the results are released, right? Though I know it's annoying to wait. You usually don't have to wait too long, but I can't tell you, right? And the reason is this is how the university will withhold your marks if you've done something naughty, like haven't paid fees, stolen a library book, I don't know what the hell, right? But I am not allowed to tell you. Until they're officially released, I can tell you nothing about your final grade. So I'm not allowed, right? I used to ignore this and just tell people, right? And then I got in serious trouble for it, right? This was years ago. I ain't doing it again, right? So anyway, I can't tell you. Right? I can't even tell you if you've passed or failed. I know it sucks, but that's the rules. We're not allowed to tell you. And this goes for all your lecturers, not just me, okay? Main thing is don't panic, right? If you've understood everything and you've worked consistently, you'll be fine, right? The exam is not designed to trick you, right? I mean, the last question in the class tests were meant to be more difficult, right? There might be one of those. In the whole exam, there'd be one. It's not like the whole exam's like that, right? Most of the questions will be standard sort of things, like the class test, like examples we've done, that sort of thing, all right? And of course, as always, we do follow through marking and things like that. Now, with the class tests, of course, the class tests are marked by, usually I employ sessionals to do it. So, yeah, there's PhD, they're usually PhD students, honours students, that sort of thing. The final exam, however, is marked by academics. Right, so because you might think, well, when the class test, you can show me the exam and see if a mistake's been made, right? That doesn't happen in the final. I only appoint academics to mark this unit, right? So I will mark most of it, but not all of it, right? Because I can't mark that many, right? But it will be marked by academics, and the marking is thoroughly checked for final exams, right? So that won't happen. Of course, mistakes are made. Right? When the results are released, after the results are released, you are welcome you can't take your exam, right? But you are welcome to come to my office and look at it, right? But only after the results have been released, not before, right? But the copy stays with me. I keep them for about a year or something, okay? All right, now here's the previous exam from last semester. Right, so very similar to this one. So there was 17 questions, total of 70 marks. And you see the first one's a multiple choice, right? So, you know, A, B, C, D, E, that's the first 10 questions, right? And then there are written ones, like where you do it in the spaces provided, okay? Right, so I've got the solutions as well. So the solutions I've just made at every model, so to show the working, right? So you can work through it yourselves. Okay, so that, yeah, so this, I said this is from last semester. Okay, obviously for the multiple choice, your working is not marked. I'm just doing this so you can work through it yourselves. All right, and then as always, when you get to the written bit, yeah, it's like the class test. It's working, it's follow through marks, that sort of thing. Okay, right? I am, you know, some lecturers most of you are probably first semester. You don't know this yet. There are some lecturers that are pretty lazy, that just rehash old exams. Unfortunately, you don't have one of those, right? I write the exam from scratch every semester. Okay, so it's not going to be a copy of a previous one. I'm not that nice, all right? But as I said, though, it's not meant to trick you, right? It's meant to, if you've understood it, you'll be fine, okay? All right. Yeah, so have a look through all of that. If anything, you come and see me in my consultation time. All right, now, a couple of pieces of advice as well. As I say, just, make sure you replace your battery. That's a big one in the calculator. The exams, again, is not designed to trick you, okay? It's going to be a fairly, if you've handled the class test fine, you'll handle the exam fine, okay? Those of you who are going on to do Math 1012 next semester, that unit it is not like this one. Those of you who are already doing 1012 will know what I mean. This one sort of flows, doesn't it? You can sort of see, it's all been one big topic, hasn't it? Right? Multivariable calculus. Math 1012 is very disjoint, right? It's lots of different topics. I see some snickering that people agree that who are doing it. It's very disjoint, right? And one of the reasons when we redesigned this unit, I was the one that actually pushed these units to be redesigned so that the second one was, instead of them both being disjoint, because that's how they used to be, the first one's sort of flows and the second one's the disjoint one. Right? But Math 1012 is basically, what is it? It's linear algebra, sequences and series, Laplace, transforms, probability and stats. That's basically it, isn't it? That's what they do now, right? So all four very different topics, right? And linear algebra, which is probably the first, 5 weeks? 5 weeks? Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 weeks. Linear algebra is your first taste of what we call pure mathematics, right? And it is, believe it or not, it is the simplest math you will ever do, if you understand what the question's asking, right? I think you'd agree, wouldn't you? The hardest part of linear algebra is keeping up with the terminology, right? It's like learning a whole new language, right? And there is literally 40 ways to ask the same question, right? And that's what makes it difficult. The actual math you do is really, really easy, isn't it? Right? It's just numbers. It's not even algebra, right? Honestly, but keeping up with the language is the hard part, and it is your first taste of pure math. Most people will struggle the first time. The very first, when I did my first full-on pure math unit in my math degree, so I did this semester where I was double degree with engineering, so I didn't do all maths. One semester I did 2 math subjects, 2 second-year math subjects. One was called complex analysis, which is basically calculus with functions of a complex variable, with complex numbers in them, right? Complex function theory. And then the other one was called group theory, which is sort of what linear algebra leads into, right? And I got, believe it or not, we also had this great thing when I was a student. We called them choose your own adventure subjects. We're not allowed to do this anymore, right? But the final mark in my maths, a lot of my math subjects, the final mark would say your final grade will be the maximum of, and you could say assignments 30%, final 70%, or mid-semester 30%, final 70%, or mid-semester 20%, assignments 20%, final 60%, or, if you were brave, final 100%. Right? Now, I studied double degree full-time and worked 25 hours a week part-time, right? Yes, so it was very busy. Right? And so when I got that option, I took it. Right? And I made the final exam, right? And in maths, it was okay because usually I was really good at maths until I hit my first pure subject. Right? So that semester, believe it or not, the final exam for complex analysis was multiple choice, which was awful. I got 100%. Do you know what I got in group theory? 46. Right? It's the only subject I ever failed. And I worked my ass off and failed miserably because I didn't get it. Right? And a lot of people do that, but don't be discouraged in the linear algebra. It's your first little taste. The best way to get the hang of it, I mean, we always say, please, we always beg everyone to attend the frickin' lectures, for God's sake, but what's the best way to learn a language? Is to hear it being used, yeah? Right, listen to it in use. That's the best way to learn. For the best way to get good at the linear algebra is attend the lectures and do nothing but listen to the lecturer, right? And keep track of the words. Would you agree? Right? Keep track of the terminology. And because keep in mind that the math is really easy, right? The only problem is there is literally 100 ways to ask the same question. Right, so when you're doing 1012, make sure you attend the lectures. Right? I'm the person in maths who decides who lectures what in our thing, and I always put the best people I can on 1011 and 1012. You next semester, if it's taught in streams, you have 2 excellent lecturers for 1012 next semester, David Walker and Lyle Noakes. David Walker is an applied mathematician like me, fantastic lecturer, and Lyle Noakes is a pure mathematician, my head of department, brilliant lecturer. Right? So I've appointed good people next semester. Okay? But make sure you attend. Now, in terms of consultation, I always put this up on my door, on my office door every semester, so that you can see this is my timetable, my consultation for this semester. I'll have the same thing for semester 2. If you want some help with 1012 and David and Lyle aren't around, you can come to me. Right? Just walk past my office one day, take note of when my consultations. I don't know yet. Haven't looked at my timetable for next semester yet, so I have no idea. Right? But you can always come to me for help as well if you like. All right? Okay. Are there any questions about the final exam or about anything? First off, yes. Look, I personally prefer to do maths in pencil. The invigilators that run it sometimes are harsh. The rules say you are meant to use pen, right? So if they don't catch you, right, but if they might be harsh and demand you use a pen, you need to bring both anyway. You need a pencil for the multiple choice. Personally, I don't care, right, but it's not up to me, okay? So it depends on the invigilator. Anything else? Yes? No, I think no, it's for any pencil's fine. Any other questions about anything? Yes?
Where is your office?
It's in the math building, level 1 room, oh God. I should know these things. What room am I? It's on the unit plan, hang on. I should know. Room 102, right? Any other questions? Anything at all? All right, now, are there any comments? Like anything about, oh, yes?
Is the same conditions apply with the notation used for the exam as the test? Like if you know about the notation, then that's fine.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah. Unless you've made up the notation yourself, we're aware of it. And as I said, the final exam will be marked by academics. Like I'm marking, I think, half of your exams, right? So I'm actually be the predominant marker for your final exam. But yes, yeah, unless you've made it up yourself, we're familiar with it. All right, are there any comments about anything about how the unit was structured or in particular the practical classes or so or anything? Keep in mind there are things that I have no control over. One is the timetable. I've got no say over that at all, right? And your final exam timetable, I don't have a say over that either. But any other comments, good or bad? You're being recorded. If it's bad, I'll take note. Anything? Right? If there's something that really annoyed you, don't say maths or something stupid like that, but I'm being serious. Anything at all? What did we think of the so-and-so? This is the first semester it's actually run relatively successfully for me. I know I'm not a fan of it either. That's why I made it not worth much and only a handful of questions. But what did we think of the so-and-so thing? Believe it or not, it's a lot better than what we used to use. Yes? Yeah. No, it's getting there. There's actually a lot of it's a lot of work in the back end that I do and certain things that I found quite a few bugs in the system. It's not that old, so so-and-so's a relatively new thing, but it is a hell of a lot better than the piece of crap we used to use. Trust me. Like we used to use this thing called My Math Lab, which was stupid. So this one's not too bad, but I try and keep it as easy as possible. What about the practicals? Are there any complaints about any of my demonstrators who ran the classes? Because if there was, I won't use them next semester or whenever I'm teaching this again. Were they all okay? No problems there? Any other comments, good or bad? Oh, and don't be afraid. Must be something. Yes, here we go.
Sometimes it was difficult to follow along the working you had when you're just going over the working that was on the PowerPoint slides.
Yeah, you prefer them written by hand? Yes. Yeah, I try. That's why I give you as many examples written by hand as I can. Yeah, no, that is, there's nothing worse than, the best way to learn maths is to watch it being done. If I had more time, the worked examples I give you that I scan handwritten, I would actually do. Right? And I try and do as many as I can, but yeah, there's so much crammed into these two units, and it's not actually us, it's engineering that's asked us to cover all this stuff, and yeah, I do the best. Yeah, thank you though. Anything else? No? Yes?
You're a good lecturer.
Pardon? Oh, thank you. No, all right. Come on. It's maths. You all hate maths, right? No, well, thank you. I'm sure you've got lots of good lecturers, not just me, so Why the laugh? I mean, you're all doing so many different units. I don't know. What, do you have a particularly bad one in the subject that most of you are doing? Oh, go on, fill me in.
Engineering, yes.
Which unit? What's it called? That is a weird unit. Yeah, who's the lecturer? Yeah, no, it's fine. Who? Chong? No. What sort of engineer are they? Mechanical, electrical? No, I don't think I know that person. No.
Civil, I think.
Civil then, yeah. Well, you used to have a first year unit. You used to have to do in engineering. You used to have to do a first year unit. I think you do it in second year now, about global challenges or something. Yeah, I'm an engineer as well. I know all about it. It's yeah, but no, that Adams to Bridges unit. That's a weird one. If it was me, I certainly wouldn't do it that way. But yeah, we all lecture differently. I'm a chemical engineer, so Adams to Bridges is all chemistry. I know it all. But it's a weird unit, that one. So, oh well, that's good to know. Right? I'm not as bad as that's the main thing. All right, are there any other comments? Or anything at all? Okay, well, remember my consultation time. Keep an eye out for a message tomorrow about your test. Remember my consultation time next week, all the way up to your final exam if you want some one-on-one help. All right, so if I don't see you beforehand, good luck in the exam, everyone.